Gordon Inouye is a Big Island farmer and businessman. Gordon is a member of the HFNA Marketing Committee and is a board member and treasurer of SHAC. Today, he will be giving an update on the Puna Flower Powers Orchid Park, located in Kilauea and is part of the shipment, inventory of lands available. So Gordon, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure, Glenn. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. It's certainly a pleasure and an honor to be here and making this presentation. This presentation is an update on previous presentations on the HFNA Orchid Park project. I will therefore skim through the earlier parts of the program which gave rise to this project.
The timing was excellent.
Kapoho, as most of you know, means depression in the Hawaiian language and refers to the many warm tidal pools that existed in the area. While many came there to hang out or vacation, others recognized it as an ideal place to grow orchids. This is an overview of Kapoho. From this overview, you can see the many shade houses and greenhouses that were located there in the Kapoho Vacation Lands Ag Park. As you can see, there are many there, such as Orchid Plantation, Paradise Orchids, the former Puna Orchids Nursery, and of course, Hawaiian Tropicals Direct. On the far right, you can see the Kapoho Bay where Kapoho beach lots were located. The lower part is Vacations Lands residential area. In May of 2018, Madame Pele changed it all. In 2018, Kilauea's activity changed dramatically. As you all recall, it first started with pool eruption ceased. Then the lava lake within Halemaumau crater drained, and fissures opened along the lower east rift zone. The 1960 Kapoho eruption discharged approximately 160 million cubic yards of lava over a 33-day period. In 2018, the Leilani eruption discharged approximately 1 billion cubic yards of lava over a 90-day period. The 2018 eruption was 6 times the volume of the 1960 eruption. Now, many of you know that lava comes up, but do you know how much force it takes to create an eruption? As most of you know, at the depth of 1 foot, you get a pressure of 4.433 pounds per square inch. Rocks about 2.5 times denser than water, and the elevation difference between Kilauea and Leilani is approximately 3,000 feet. So under static conditions, 0.433 psi times 2.5 times 3,000 feet comes out to about 3,250 pounds per square inch. In terms of pounds per square foot, you're looking at 144 times that, or 468,000 pounds per square foot, or 234 tons of upward pressure per square foot. Within days, the lava from Leilani eruption started flowing up toward Kapoho. In this photo, Paradise Orchids, Joseph Kekete's nursery, has already been overrun. His nursery was just in the shadows of Kapoho crater. Orchid Plantation, Elton Mao's nursery, is still in the lower left-hand side of the photo. Hawaiian Tropicals Direct, Michael Hughes and Yachi Lee's nursery is in the lower right-hand corner. The Asia Pacific Flowers and the former Puna Orchids nursery are in the bottom center of the photo. Within a few hours, Madame Pele consumed them all. Orchid Plantation by this time has already been overrun. Asia Pacific Flowers and the former Puna Orchids nursery have also been consumed. The greenhouse shows the former Puna Orchids 2 nursery just beginning to be overrun. Hawaiian Tropicals Direct is in the top center and still intact in this photo. There's no escaping the lava. You know, it's as cruel as it might be. You can see a beautiful greenhouse there slowly being engulfed by the lava flow. This is the far left corner of Asia Pacific flowers, and the first one of the first orchid nurseries in Komohana. The nursery itself has already been consumed, and the packing shed's already been consumed, and the one residence left on that property is just about to be consumed. Slowly but surely, the lava flow kept moving toward Komohana Bay in the lower right-hand side of the corner. The lower part of the picture is the Vacation Lands subdivision where many homes were located. Until finally, there was nothing left. All that was left was about 60 to 100 feet of lava covering the entire area. What was once a beautiful area now is all desolate. Even after darkest of nights, we can count on the sun rising in the morning. Just as the phoenix rises from the ashes, sunrise reminds us that hope springs eternal. With the help from friends, we know that we will survive. The HFNA Orchid Project was born out of this desolation. In 2019, HFNA adopted the theme, Moving Forward in Unity. Without exception, everyone affected needed help. The community stepped up and provided food, water, and temporary shelter. Naturally, the focus was on victims who had lost their homes. Industry observers had numerous suggestions and many ideas were tossed about to create a new orchid park. The HFNA board members, recognizing the dire needs of its members and cognizant of the lead time that the proposed solutions will take, assembled an ad hoc committee to do what it takes to get its members back to work. The timeline, May 3rd, 2018, is when the lower Puna eruption started. By August 7th, 2018, 13.7 square miles of land had been covered by lava and more than 700 homes were destroyed. By August 15, 2018, the eruption had subsided and no new lava was erupting from Fissure 8. However, 100% of the orchid nurseries in Komohana had been destroyed. HFNA formed an action plan. A committee was formed to see what could be done to expedite help from all quarters. The first step was to find a site able to host the displaced orchid growers. While many public areas were considered, the enabling timelines were too long to be considered. Private lands, working with landowners, had a much better chance to succeed. The committee sent invitations to many of the affected growers in Komohana to attend the inaugural meeting of this group. Other industry organizations were also invited to participate, including Synergistic Hawaii Agricultural Council, as well as the Orchid Growers Association. The Department of Agriculture state loan officers, as well as land management officers, were also invited, but due to their workload were unable to attend due to other commitments. The County of Hawaii was also invited and were represented by Diane Lay, then the R&D director at the time, who attended several meetings and provided the group with excellent guidance going forward. The private sector. In June of 2018, while the eruption was ongoing, Bill Walter, president of the UH-CTAHR at the time, stepped up. Bill advised us that the company was receptive of becoming involved. However, he was retiring at year-end and introduced us to the incoming president of UH-CTAHR, who's currently Margaret Peggy Farias and Oliver English, Director of Agricultural Operation. By the end of 2018, the group had reached a memo of understanding with Shipman to terms of a lease for a site. Preliminary plans called for a 50-acre orchid park, which was sufficient to accommodate any and all of the displaced orchid growers in Komohana. As the site selection criteria, the target lands was close as possible to the microclimate of Komohana, have reasonable access to FedEx and UPS shipping, have a reasonable land cost, and long enough term to amortize significant capital investment. The rainfall in Komohana is approximately 80 inches per year, while Hilo has about 130 inches annually at sea level. The initial proposed orchid park is located at 240 feet elevation and had an estimated rainfall of about 90 to 100 inches per year. The Puna Flower Park Co-op was created. At a meeting, impacted growers were invited to attend. Some were not willing to start back up. Many of them were devastated and broken. Others were able to receive some remuneration for the losses and found alternate full-time jobs. Some simply retired, and who could blame them? However, a small number of key growers decided to combine forces and form a cooperatives to mutually assist each other to get back in business. In order to move forward, a legal entity was necessary. So Puna Flower Power was born in April of 2019. A cooperative structure was adopted as fewer growers were involved and less land was needed. The used portion of the quarry site needed another agricultural use, so the fit was perfect for an alternative orchid park site. Russell Kauai, a former HFNA member and owner of Puna Rock Limited, cooperated with PFP to make the project a reality. The effort was supported by the landowner, UH-CTAHR and Company. That's Russell on the left, and on the right is a photo of his ongoing quarry operation called Puna Rock. A revised and updated site plan was created by Shipman, Puna Rock, and Puna Flower Power. We agreed to lease 6.7 acres of former quarry property which had been mined and no longer in use. The initial Puna Flower plan consisted of about 3.5 acres of greenhouses at full build-out on the 6.7 acres. But plans were downsized. The plans were downsized from the original 50 acres to downsized to accommodate 3 to 6 growers. A long-term memo of understanding was signed with Shipman. The land license was to be effective January 1st, 2020. That MOU has been replaced by a land license that runs for 20 years from January 1st, 2020. HFNA received funding to purchase 2 greenhouses of 19,300 square feet, 320 square feet each for teaching and training purposes. And they were constructed on the Orchid Park site for future use by the co-op. HFNA also received modest amount of additional funding for irrigation, tables, to purchase some plants for teaching, and to build a quarantine facility. This is a photo of the first container delivered to the Orchid Park site in latter part of October of 2019. The site preparation commenced in the latter part of 2019 by Puna Rock Company with a goal of being available by early 2020. This is a photo of the site work, again, by the end of October. You can see many old pieces of equipment there that had to be removed and a lot of grading that needed to be done. By November of 2019, most of the used equipment had been removed and grading had started. By the latter part of December, quite a bit of work had been done and the site preparation was ongoing. Here are more photos of the site in the middle of December of 2019. Work sort of came to a halt in the early part of January of 2020. As you all recall, it was a very wet period and the equipment couldn't really do much work there. But in February, heavy grading work commenced. We had a big D9 in there ripping and tearing and leveling the property so that construction could start. By the end of February, the site was deemed ready to roll. This is a photo of Russell admiring his good work, which was actually very good work, at the end of February of 2020. In March of 2020, Puna Flower Power put a team together to build the first greenhouse. And construction continued through April of 2020. On the far left, you can see the outline of the basic structure, and the middle photo shows the plastic being put on, and on the right side, the plastic installed on the greenhouses. By May of 2020, the basic structure was erected and completed. However, funding at that time did not allow for any more progress beyond that point. The Hawaii State Department of Agriculture had set up a Kilauea Emergency Loan Fund. The expiration for application was set to expire in June of 2019. In May of 2019, as the basic structure was erected, PFP petitioned the Board of Agriculture to extend the deadline to June of 2020, which the board approved. Puna Flower Power submitted an application for a loan under the program in June of 2020, and the request was put on the agenda for the August 18th, 2020 meeting of the Board of Agriculture. At that meeting, the Board of Agriculture approved a loan for $479,870 for the PFP project. The loan was funded and closed on October 16 of 2020. Parallel to that, Council member Ashley Kirkowitz introduced County of Hawaii Bill 146, Ordinance 2028, on March 25th, 2020. The County Council unanimously approved the bill on April 20th, 2020. Bill 146 allows for grants of up to $500,000 for eligible 501c3 nonprofit organization impacted by the 2018 Kilauea eruption. A request for proposals was issued in mid-July of 2020 with a July 24th, 2020 deadline, which was only 2 weeks. PFP, Puna Flower Power, partnered with the Big Island Resource Conservation and Development Council and applied for the grant. The awards were announced in early September of 2020, and the proposal was accepted and approved. Funding for that project occurred in December and January of 2021. Between the county grant and the Department of Agriculture loan, Puna Flower Power was able to complete construction of almost 60,000 square feet of greenhouse and commence operations in 2021. In addition to those two funding sources, there was an EDA, Economic Development Agency grant application under the Department of Commerce. The Congress had passed a bill allocating grant opportunities for entities impacted by hurricanes, wildfires, volcanic eruptions, and earthquakes, and other natural disasters in 2018. It was a huge bill, close to $500 million, I believe. SHAC submitted an application on behalf of PFP in late 2019 for a grant opportunity. The application was put on pending status subject to local matching fund participation. The EDA wanted local matching fund from anywhere from 20 to 50% of the total request. a grant for the Department of Ag loan approval, and the county grant awards counted towards such funding approvals, and so the grant was resubmitted for $1.5 million in late 2020. However, all available funds for the program had been dispersed or committed by this time, and no further funding was available under this program. It was a shame because our congressional delegation had specifically ensured that volcanic eruptions was listed as one of the causes for the bill. Unfortunately, $0 from the $500 million were allocated for disaster relief under that program. With the loss of further funding, plans had to be scaled back, obviously. The original plan was to construct 8 greenhouses. With current funding, the project will construct 3 greenhouses and a 4th if at all possible. Updated plans call for a well, additional water storage, and a packing facility. The PFP team, with additional funding, set out to complete greenhouse number 1. In this photo, you can see where the ground cover for the greenhouse number 1 was being laid. The first container of plant benches arrived on site and became available to Puna Flower Power. Here you can see a photo of the plant benches being installed in greenhouse number 1. We needed power there since the site is off-grid. So Puna Flower Power purchased the first 2 containers used to carry product to it and used those 2 containers as the foundation for a structure to house a PV system. On the left, you see a truss has been built by HPM being installed on the containers, and on the right-hand side, you see a photo of the PV system installed on the containers. A 20,000 water storage tank and pump room was constructed to support the irrigation and domestic water needs of the nursery. We have found that, of course, it is not adequate for full operation, but we'll be able to handle our needs on a temporary basis. By June of 2021, operations started, and as you can see from the photo, we have a lot of new plants on the benches there. The inventory by the end of July was over 100,000 plants, most of them being in plug trays, as in this picture. However, PFP also acquired some larger plants in plugs and in 2-inch pots, and those were repotted into 4-inch pots. We also were able to acquire some 4-inch pots that are in blooming size, and those are also ready. Work on greenhouse number 2 had commenced, and as you can see, the greenhouse number 1 in the background, greenhouse structure for greenhouse number 2 is in the foreground. And of course, this is our team, and one of the partners at the very top of the greenhouse there working away. Not a fun job and very challenging, but God bless them. No accidents, by the way. In the meantime, pad for number 3 is under construction. You see a big D9 there, grading and leveling the area. In the background, you can see the ongoing quarry operation for Puna Rock. In this photo, pad number 3 is completed and ready to build greenhouse number 3, and plastic is being applied on greenhouse number 2. As I speak, the poles for greenhouse number 3 are being drilled. And now we have a few plants for sale. This is a Denfeld type Dendrobium. And while we have a long road ahead, Puna Flower Power is about a year plus from being fully operational. While many hurdles lay ahead, we're immensely grateful to the following: Hawaii Floriculture and Nursery Association, the Synergistic Hawaii Agricultural Council, Big Island Resource Conservation and Development Council, the Hawaii State Department of Agriculture, W.H. Shipman and Company, Councilwoman Ashley Kirkowitz, in whose district the project lies, and to the many others who have helped make this project a reality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon. So we have a question here. It says, the production before the 2018 lava flow was dendrobiums. What diversification in production do you expect?
Well, to correct you briefly, Glenn, we had dendrobiums, we were at cattleyas, and vandas in particular, all very warm weather plants. We expect to grow all of those again, as well as on Sydney at the Orchid Park project.
I see. Okay. You are educated as an engineer. You have a master's in business administration. How did you come about becoming an orchid grower?
Well, the story is relatively long, but put a long story short, I was called in as a consultant back in 1984 for a project to put together a offshore agricultural product. And as a consultant, I was successful in getting a joint venture partner there, as well as full financing from the Export-Import Bank. At our final meeting with the partners, I gave them the full presentation and also lectured them on political risk. The host country had a government similar to the United Kingdom, where you had the Tory party, which is pro-business, and the Labour Party, which was Labour Party. In any event, the Tory party was in power at the time, and my research showed that whenever there was a change in power, the Labour government had a tendency to expropriate foreign investments in the country. So upon that news, we bailed out. One of the partners in the meantime had 1 million orchid plants in process. So he challenged me with a chance to say, well, what am I going to do with this? And this is how we started into the potted orchid business from scratch. It was by happenstance, and we were the first to ship blooming orchid plants off island, and it grew into a huge industry.
I see. Now, you mentioned that you had some greenhouses for training or education?
Yes, we're setting up a training program to help to teach prospective growers how to do the whole orchid growing cycle, from the deflasking to the seedlings to the repotting to the marketing of orchid plants. So that's in process right now, and not fully developed, but we're working on that.
And how many students or interns do you think you can accommodate once you get this program going?
Well, our hope is to bring in 2 interns per quarter and run for 8 quarters. So altogether, 8 quarters. So hopefully we'll have as many as 16 interns moving through the process if we get the program going.
Okay, and then final question, Puna flower power. It sounds like a term from the 1960s. Would that be the basis for this name?
It was the brainchild of one of our members, and the challenge was to create a name that people would remember. And so Puna flower power seemed to be a good name, and I think it has garnered a lot of interest. And so the board and the members adopted that as the official name of the co-op.
It is very catchy.
It is.
Yes. So thank you very much for your presentation and update today.
My pleasure and an honor to do that. Thank you, Glenn.